Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Naker Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zergy draft strategy. In this podcast, Blake and I are going to tell you how to win in week 9 of the fantasy season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are you feeling tonight?
Oh my God, that's the energy I need, Nathan. Right there. All right. I feel good, my man. As usual, I'm always stoked to get into it with you here. My one, my only, my everything, NGN, buddy. Did you all know that Nate and I share a common love of a movie from the 1990s? This is a movie that Nate has seen, by the way. Total Recall. Nate, what are your thoughts on Total Recall from the year 1992? Has anyone seen that out there?
I don't think anybody's seen that, and definitely not me as a child. Far too early to see it.
That's right. Anybody remember what happens in that movie? Yeah. Anybody pause on a certain screen? Yeah. All right. This is our demographic. Don't worry, Nate. We're fine. People want to this. Anyways, it's a great day. It's Friday. Today was an awesome day of hockey. It was really fun. Do you like on these busy days, Nate? Are you just on your phone all the time? Like, is it hard to get away from it? Because I was at work and like my battery died by like 11 o'clock. I was like, I don't know how many.
I mean, officially no, but unofficially yes.
Don't know
Very
what that
much
means.
living on the phone throughout the day, watching my scores go mostly up. Yeah,
Good for you.
it's been a pretty good week so far. I don't want to jinx anything, but things are looking okay at the moment in most of my spots. So it's been good so far. We got another busy Saturday up ahead and some games again on Sunday. So it's a lot to look forward to, but we should probably get to biz here, Blake. We should probably give the people some newsies.
Newsies. Yep, we got to do it. All right. Nate's giving me a ultimatum. I gotta keep this nice and tight. The Newsies, the crossing the streams. Yeah, we're getting a little long in the tooth, so I'm not helping what I'm doing right now currently. So, anyways, carry on. All right. we gotta talk about Pasta. David Pasternak. He's cooking something up. Him and Pavel Zacha both missed Friday's game. Kind of last minute too. That's really rough when you're obviously relying on your best player in David Pasternak to get you some points on a Friday here. So you got to check and see their status for next game. Head coach there says he doesn't know if they're going to play, so that stinks. But Casey Middlestat's out there, right, Nate?
Casey Middlestat will forever be on your waiver wire.
That's right. That's a term of endearment we have for Casey Middlestat. He's a beautiful man, great head of hair, frosted tips, the whole thing. Anyways, check their status for Saturday's game. Barrett Hayton of the Utah Mammoth missed Friday's game due to illness, so check his status for next game as well. Lots of weird little ticky-tacky injuries here, so we'll kind of run through some of these. Johnny Marchessault of the Nashville Predators is day-to-day with lower body injury. He missed Friday's game. Kyle Palmieri, he ran through some drywall and that didn't hurt him, but yeah, he fell awkwardly into the boards and that's it. I mean, but he could be out for a little while. Looks like lower body injury there, twisted his leg all up, didn't finish the game. I mean, who do you think is going to be the guy there? I've seen online some people talking about Shabanov, right? And that's a player that you and I talked about a lot in the offseason as a player that could potentially do something for fantasy. He's obviously a very talented offensive player. Do you think he gets some run here, Nate?
I think it's a decent chance. Yeah, they did try him there in the game. Like it was the Horvat, Heineman, Palmieri line that they've been running with for the last little bit. And after Palmieri left, it was Shabanov that got the immediate boost. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen in the next game, but early returns, not looking too bad. He also got the boost on the power play as well. So that could be a nice look.
We need guarantees, Nate. All right. We don't want shoulda, woulda, couldas. All right. Damn it. We talked about this. All right, I got to keep this tight, folks. Let's keep going here. Stoley, the goalie for the Maple Leafs, he's not traveling with the team. So, Joseph Wall, how do you feel about your boy there, Nate?
I mean, he's playing tremendous. The team in front of him is the opposite. So that's kind of the the issue at the moment. He's gonna see a lot of rubber. Like whatever you thought of like Spencer Knight going into the year, that's how you should view Joseph Woll at the moment.
Okay, what's the most wordy adjective you can think of, just off the top of your head, that describes the Maple Leafs play?
The most wordy adjective. I'm
Put you
truly
on the spot
terrible
here.
at thinking of things off the top of
Oh,
my
damn.
head
All right,
like
you think
this,
about
but
that. You put it on the back burner. You hit me up at the end of Newsies. All right. No ifs, ands, or buts. Well, maybe a few buts. Huh? Big ones, right? Okay, let's move on. Sorry about that, Nate. You got to change the slide, Nate. What are you doing? All right, I got to talk about Lucas Dostal. He's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. He's got an uppy body injury. That stinks for sure, but Anaheim doesn't care, right? They bring in Ville Husso up here. It's going to be Husso and Mrazek holding down the fort. Husso got a win tonight. Come from behind. This Ducks team, man, so fun to watch. I mean, yeah, all that excitement we had in the off seasons, like it was based in something, folks. That was all kind of conjecture. I love that it's actually happening here with Coach Q, and it's been a really fun ride with the Ducks so far. I'd love to see them get into the playoffs and just see what they do. I don't think that team's far from where they need to be. I think in terms of competing with the big boys, but sure, a fun team to watch. Hey, Nate.
very fun team to watch. I completely concur on that point, my good sir.
Thank you, my good man. Let's move on. What I put Willie is Illy. Yeah. William Nylander, another one of these guys, had an illness pop up here today. So, yeah, he missed the game. That stinks. Again, same as Pasternak. You're missing Willie. You're missing Pasternak. That's going to hurt you on a Friday. Sorry, folks. Josh Norris, close to return, question mark? Yeah. Come back, my sweet prince. Okay, I've got him in 4 spots in my IR plus. I'm happy to have him. All right, I'm probably going to leave him there even when he is healthy because I don't know what the hell's going on. But Norris, if you can play 3 or 4 straight games in a row without getting injured, you're back on the squad. All right, we love this. And as I predicted and prognosticated, 60-point pace, Josh Norris on the way, folks. Book it. Okay, don't at me. Okay, Jack Roslovic of the Edmonton Oilers. He's going to be out for a couple weeks, actually, which is, yeah, that stinks. He was doing really well there with the Oilers. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is coming back for Saturday's game, so that's nice. They kind of replace one guy with another. Roslovic leaving is going to boost Zach Hyman a little bit because, yeah, they kind of did some of the same stuff out there, although obviously Hyman is the incumbent and he's going to eventually get more time. He's just kind of getting back into the swing of things, but the Oilers not playing very well. Is that safe to say, Nate?
I think that we can conclusively say that the Edmonton Oilers are not playing well at the moment.
Solid analysis right here. Valerie Nichushkin, yeah, he of the Colorado Avalanche could be back on Saturday against the Canadiens. So just keep an eye on the deployment there. It's always going to matter who plays on power play 1. Right now it's Landeskog playing up there. But where's Nichushkin going to go? They kind of bring him back from injury and usually put him on power play 2, line 2, and then he sort of just works his way back to power play 1. That's kind of what I think will probably happen because Landeskog has been playing well and he's been getting some good minutes out there as well. And then lastly, Jaden Schwartz. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. He's out with a lower body injury, and it's going to be a little while. Does anybody care? Jaden Schwartz's parents, his team, right? I mean, he seems like a nice person. So, yeah, he's a good streamer for Seattle. But that's it, Nate. We don't want to carry on all day. We want to keep it nice and tight. Let's attack the schedule.
Oh, I guess I'm off the hook then. I don't have to
Oh, you
provide
got
the.
something? What do you got? What's the
Oh,
word? What's the adjective? Did you Google something? Tell me.
rebarbative is what I was going to go with.
Okay, I think we're done here. All right, let's attack the schedule, Nathan.
All right, let's attack that schedule. That means that we need to run through as quickly as possible the week ahead. Monday, we have 5 games. Tuesday, 10 games. Wednesday, 5 games. Thursday, 10 games. Friday, 5 games. Saturday, 12 games. Sunday, 8 games. Actually, pretty much just 5 and 10 games back to back to back until we get to Saturday. So 55 total games played. This is actually, I believe, the heaviest week of the year so far. It's not like the heaviest week I've ever seen, but it's up there for sure in terms of the total games played. There are no teams with a Sunday Monday back to back or a Monday Tuesday back to back to open the week, so nothing doing there. But we have 7 teams with Monday Wednesday off nights. That's going to be Anaheim, San Jose, New Jersey, Utah, Winnipeg, Buffalo, and Philadelphia. And we've got 8 teams with Wednesday Friday off nights: Anaheim, San Jose, Dallas, New Jersey, Utah, Winnipeg, Washington, and Buffalo. And we got 5 teams with Friday Sunday off nights: Anaheim, San Jose, Dallas, Washington, and Vegas. So, you know your marching orders this week, folks. No one on the bench. Stream your brains out, as Blake has so eloquently put in the schedule attack here. This is a week to get to biz for sure when it comes to streaming. Use those streamer spots effectively. You have week-long options. You have midweek options. You have end-of-week options. There's no reason to be leaving people on your bench in a week like this. Anything to add there, Blake?
Yeah, I just love these type of weeks. I talked about this a little bit in the patron show. I talked to the Apples and Ginos patrons, just splitting up the week into 2 halves, right? Especially when you have the ability, like we do this week. Look at 3 games in the first 4 nights. Look at 3 games in the last 4 nights. See if you can make something like that work. Use the back-to-backs to your advantage. There isn't too many that are super helpful in this week, which is a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, I like Nate said, just no reason to have anybody on your bench here. Even the Saturday is a 12-game Saturday. You might be able to fit some players on there. So it's going to be fun. Look for quality, I think, this week. I think that's what I'm looking at.
Definitely. All right, Blake, go ahead and lower the expectations for these people.
That's what I do, Nate. Every time I come on, the expectations get a little bit lower. All right. Am I right? Hit me up on the Apple review. All right. I've been called a total buffoon. Does anybody know what a buffoon means? Can somebody hit me up in the comments and define buffoon? And then also tell me, am I one? All right. I need the validation. All right. Maybe that's a bit dangerous, but, I'm putting myself out there. Anyways, we got to talk about the lowered expectations. Worst teams to stream, potential players to drop coming up here. And yeah, it's not a huge list here. We got Seattle again with a brutal schedule. That's 2 weeks in a row for Seattle. So yeah, they play just the 2 nights with 0 off nights. They play on the 10-game Thursday and the 12-game Saturday. So again, you didn't have any Seattle on your team most likely. So you're not going to be worried about any Seattle dropping them, right? But if you do, like obviously Vince Dunn, you're holding Vince Dunn. I don't see any reason to drop him. It's just going to hurt a little bit. But is there anybody else on this? I guess you got Brandon Montour as well. Anybody else on the Seattle Kraken team that you're wanting to hold through this 2-game week?
Yeah, the only other guy, Jared McCann, I guess, coming back from injury comes to mind. There are deeper leagues that I would probably be hanging on to Jared McCann. I think he can be pretty good. The nice part is they have really kind of gone to and stuck with the top power play unit a little bit more this year. And that's been a boon for guys like Eberle throughout the year. So if Jared McCann gets on that, I really do think that he could pop off a little bit and have a really nice season. So that's the only guy I'm thinking twice about in a 12-team league. Definitely in a 14-team league, I'm probably trying to hang on to a guy like Jared McCann just because I believe in the talent of the player. Vince Dunn, I do believe in the talent of the player, but he has had kind of a tough run as of late. Only 1 goal in the last 5 games, still getting that deployment, but the underlines are not terrific as you might expect being there in Seattle. So it's definitely getting closer. He's not that high above replacement anymore. If you go by APL points, he's 41st amongst defensemen in fantasy points per game. It's he's closer to the back end of your roster than I would have said at the beginning of the year for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I do want to shout out the Seattle Kraken. We talk so much Yang on this team. They're 3rd in the Pacific right now.
Yeah.
This team is like 11-6-6. Meanwhile, the Vancouver Canucks 10-13-2. Sad trombone. All right. That's what the Canucks are changing their logo to. It's just a trombone that's all droopy, like a limp noodle. with a music note coming out. I don't know. That's terrible. But Seattle actually, yeah, they've had a little bit of success, at least team wise. So they just stink for fantasy, which we know. But anyways, shout out to them. Kraken's been released. Put the Kraken back in the cage. All right, and let's move on. There are 10 teams that play 3 games with 0 off nights. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this section here, just because you don't have to drop these players, right? Like you're looking for quality this week. And I think you'll be able to find some quantity as well with some of your streamers, but I'm not looking to drop a ton of these players, but let's go through it here. There are 10 teams: Boston, Calgary, Detroit, Edmonton, LA, Minnesota, Nashville, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. So let's look at Boston. We got, your beefer option, Nikita Zadorov, actually, putting a few points on the board here and there. That's nice. All right. 3 points in the last 5 games. Buddy, thanks for coming out. Pavel Zacha missed that game here. So, I mean, if you've got him, hopefully you can just throw him in the IR. And then you got the Lindholms, Hampus and Elias Lindholm. Anybody that you're mildly excited about? Maybe just the Lindholms there, because they're both on power play 1. Obviously with Pasta, if he misses more time, like, these guys are going to get some run. Hampus and Elias, any interest in those 2 guys?
Yeah, I think those are the guys that are the ones you're most likely going to want to hang on to. Elias Lindholm did have a couple of points today. And Hampus, running the top power play in the absence of Charlie McAvoy and getting a bunch of minutes to boot. So those are the 2 guys I'd be trying to hold. Zadorov in a bangers. I think I am probably hanging on to him in this particular week. But yeah, I think it's a spot where you don't have to hang on to any of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're going to sink your season if you do get to a place where you feel like they are the most logical drop for the week to get a really good streamer, and there are some really good streamers available. So I think you're going to hear me say this a lot, but I can see the drop, but I'm not advocating for it.
Yeah. I wish we could give like 100% answers, like, drop this man, pick this man up. It's like, it doesn't work that way, right? It has to make sense for your team, right? And these guys still have value. So let's move over to Calgary. We're just mentioning players here, and I'd love to get your take on this, Nate. Mackenzie Weegar, I mean, no, in a 3-game week, we're not dropping Weegar. Rasmus Anderson, hell no, we're not dropping Rasmus Anderson. This guy's popping the hell off. Rasmus Anderson has 9 points in 5 games. And that might not even be accurate. I don't know if that counts. You got another 2 points tonight, I think. So
wouldn't include tonight.
Yeah, this guy's out of hand. He's just gone ham. He's staring down like some old lady in the crowd wearing an Oilers jersey. I don't know what's happening, but don't drop him. But we got Blake Coleman, Jonathan Huberdeau, and Matt Coronado. To me, Huberdeau and Coronado are the ones I'd love to get your sort of take on there. Any interest in dropping them in a 3-game week here?
Yeah, I think Huberto you can let go of. Coronado is a little bit more interesting because he tends to provide a little bit of value, at least with the shots that he's getting on a night-to-night basis. But yeah, I don't think you have to hang on to those 2. I think Coronado, like, what he brings to the table is, in a best case scenario, in this current iteration of the Calgary Flames, probably going to be like a 30-goal, 60-point pace rest of season. That's probably the best case scenario. So there's a lot of leagues where that's kind of below the line of you have to hang on to that player. So if that's you, then you can feel free to drop Coronado. But I think that's the one guy that seems to have upside here.
Yeah, no, I've had lots of questions on Coronado as well. I'm high on the player, but again, it has to make sense for your team. We got to win these weeks, right? We can't just set and forget and hope we'll be there at the end, right? There's a lot of moving pieces. All right. Let's move over to the Detroit Red Wings. We've got Patrick Kane on here. I'm not dropping Patrick Kane for nobody. All right. It's man's rostership is going down. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I love Patrick Kane, although he can't hit the broadside of a barn. He likes to shoot when a goalie's in the net. Do you ever do that when you're out there warming up? Like, it's a wide open net and you're like whipping the puck past, you can't get it on net. Then a goalie gets in and you're just sniping it bar down.
Yeah, I tend to miss the net regardless of the presence of the goalie or not. So I can't say I relate.
So modest. Holy moly. We have some some unedited footage of Nate at Beer League. It's unbelievable. Seriously. You got to check this out. I've sent it off to some analysts just to kind of get some metrics of our own, just for Nate's play. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just improvising this whole sentence, and it's kind of falling off a cliff. Let's move on. Simone Edmondson. Is it Simone or Simon? I would say Simon, but I've heard people say Simone.
Simone.
You ever say it like that? Like
I've
Michael
never
Jackson?
said it like that.
Shimon. Edmondson. It doesn't really flow, but I
No.
might. All right. If you ever hear me on the pod just going Shimon, you know who I'm talking about. I'm sorry about this. And then Emmett Finney as well. I think Edmondson, Finney, bye. They're easy drops. Those are streamer level players. Kane is
Yeah.
not. Do you concur?
I concur. I think Kane is going to pop off for a big stretch. Like last year, you saw what he did once McClellan got to town. I think
Yes.
that's entirely possible for his, or not quite to the second half yet, but like rest of season, I could see Kane at a point per game pace, and that wouldn't even surprise me that much.
He's already pacing for 71, folks. The guy's rostered something stupid like 38%. What are we doing? What are we doing? All right, let's move on. Edmonton. Okay, we're looking at Roslovic again, day to day. So hopefully you can throw him in IR. I don't know what his role is going to be when he comes back because the team will be a little bit different and hopefully kind of out of this funk that they're in. They got to get the biz here pretty quick. Jake Wallman is day to day as well, but he's skating. I mean, he could play in the next week here. So I'm not too concerned about those players. But what about Darnell Nurse? What about Matthias Ekholm? What about players like that, Nate? Are you looking at dropping them here in this week?
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to again. Darnell Nurse is a big time Prifs guy with a few points here and there. Has some value in those Bangers Cats leagues for sure. But I tend to think that he's on the more replaceable side of things. Ekholm has had some really good underlying numbers for the vast majority of this season. The puck just hasn't really gone in the net for him all that much on the year. So again, both of these guys in that category for me. If they are the last person on your team, I wouldn't feel bad about dropping them, but they're probably good enough to hang around for another week.
Yeah. Edmonton streamers, though. I mean, Nurse and Ekholm. Ekholm's a streamer to me. Nurse, not, like you said, I think he's above replacement. I'm not looking to get off Nurse, but yeah, I don't know what they're going to do over there. They do got to get this goalie situation sorted out, but it's not just Stuart Skinner. It's like the level of high danger chances in front of the goalies there. Like, what are they supposed to do? And I was glad to see that McDavid and Draisaitl kind of echoed that sentiment. They're like, what are they supposed to do? Like, really? So I don't know. I feel bad for Stuart Skinner. The guy's got a glorious mustache. Anyways, let's move on. LA is the next team here. Quentin Byfield. No, I'm not dropping Quentin Byfield. Anze Kopitar and Brant Clark. Those are different story. I mean, I've got Kopitar in one spot. I'm not looking to get off him. This guy's got 3 points in his last 5 games, not including tonight. Metrics horrific usually, but the on ice numbers a little bit better for Anze Kopitar. Where are you at with him? Like, and where are you at with Kopitar versus Byfield? Do you think that he's kind of really passed the torch, or do you think they're still kind of coexisting there? And I don't know, that 5 forward power play that they got going on.
Yeah, I mean, they are doing some different things. The torch in terms of just raw time and ice was already passed last year, so that's already been in, come and gone. But Kopitar is still obviously kind of like the defensive conscience of the team. Still a
Yep.
good distributor as well in his own right. He's never really lost that part of the game. I'm like pretty unimpressed with Quentin Byfield's contributions to anybody's fantasy lineup so far this year. He has just 1 point. I didn't see actually what he got in today's game, but
You got an
prior to
assist, I think.
today's game,
Yeah.
yeah, he only had the one assist in the prior 5 games. So it's not like he's been exactly blowing up the score sheet for you prior to today's game where he gets one assist but doesn't even have a shot on goal. And on the season, it's like a 60-ish point pace, 60, 65 point pace now with the assist today. Yeah, it's just like he's not doing much. He's not scoring. Like he's on a 14 goal pace for the season. What is Quentin Byfield really bringing to your hockey team, your fantasy hockey team right now?
Yeah.
Not that much. So, yeah, I don't think you have to hang on to Byfield. I think you probably will just because we all know what the upside looks like. Because every once in a while we get these glorious moments where he does something that nobody else in the NHL can do, it feels like. And you wonder where that goes sometimes. And I think it goes the way of all offense in a Jim Hiller system, and that's probably what we have to live with. So I don't think you have to hang on to Byfield in a lot of spots. I think people need to realize that the talent that they see is not going to match the fantasy production. Kopitar, I feel like you can just boot. I don't think you have to hang on to Kopitar in. I think he's just fully a streamer at this point. And Brant Clark, I like a lot, but yeah, it's still just a streamer level. I think he has a lot of potential. I would like to be picking up him up in weeks where there is a good schedule for LA, just in
Yep.
case that happens to be the one week where he does get on power play one for the rest of the season. But I don't know how likely that really is. So there is that.
There's hope though for Brant Clark. Like, geez, he's getting over 20 minutes pretty consistently now. I mean, yeah, last like 7 games over 20 minutes. I love that. 2 assists here against Anaheim tonight. He's an exciting player. I like him as a guy you should try and hold like past this week, right? Like you said, this is a guy I think is a quality guy that I'd like to take a swing at. On Byfield really quick, Nate, what do you think his ceiling actually is? Like we've
In
got
a Jim Hiller system or anywhere else in the league?
yeah, maybe just any like yeah, if all things go right this year in a Jim Hiller system, what is Quentin Byfield's ceiling to you?
Probably 65, 70 points, somewhere in there.
Oof. All right. Well, that's fair. Yeah, I love the player. It's just maybe I think you're right. It's kind of a talented player in a system that kind of stifles his talents a little bit, right? But anyways, let's move off of LA. Talk about Minnesota. Booyah goes the dynamite. Z Booyah, he's there. The Zucchini Man, Matt Zuccarello, and Marcus Johansson, obviously a must roster player because he's elite offensively. Nate, do you concur with that?
I can't say I concur with any of your takes regarding Marcus Johansson
Oh,
at any point.
they hit, Nate. It was just 3 years too late. All right. I was thinking ahead. I was thinking the long game, Nate. Didn't you know that?
Right. That makes sense.
Right. Okay. Thank you for the agreement. Yeah, but those are the players we're looking at. Minnesota. Z William is getting power play one, but it's his ice time's all over the shop. It's nothing like. In fact, it's low. Like last 5 games is under 18 minutes, not including tonight here. That's show ain't no good. I don't think he's a big enough part of that power play that you know, like even though he's a power play one defenseman, like do we have to hold him?
No, I don't think you have to hold him. It's that range where like even Goss Despair was in this range for a while. Now Goss Despair is apparently completely within the RBA circle of trust, which is one of the crazier developments of the year. But I don't see at this point any reason to believe that Zeev William is going to get there anytime soon. They have a lot of really solid NHL defensemen there in Minnesota. If there's injuries, sure, then maybe we can get a little bit more excited about a few more minutes. But in the current setup, you're really just hoping for a power play point with William. The other guys, Zuccarello, obviously I'm trying to hang on to Zuccarello. I think he's pretty supremely talented still. Maybe like kind of in that Kopitar vein, but in a better spot, playing alongside better players and a better system for offense, et cetera, et cetera. I think Zuccarello is a guy you got to hold this week. And Johansson, you can punt him any day you want.
Oh my God. What's Johansson's point pace for the season? I don't have my notes here. Nate, do you have that?
68.
68 points. Marcus Johansson. Give it to me, Neil. Yeah. Neil Groot Nibbling, folks. All right. He's right here in the flesh promoting Marcus Johansson. All right, let's move on. I lost my place. All right. Nashville Predators. Yeah. 10 goals in 2 games. What? Huzzah. Wow. Thank you very much, Predators. Yeah, this is excellent work. Steven Stamkos, Johnny Marchessault, who is injured, so you can punt him or get him into your IR. But and Ryan O'Reilly as well. I don't know, like where are you at with the Predators just in general? Like, do you think that they're turning a corner, or is this kind of just a little blip of offense that they're getting? Like, I don't know. I will say I watched. I don't know who it was who scored in the Nashville game, but Stamkos was so excited, man. He was just over the moon. Like it just felt like a nice vibe, and I felt good for them because it's been such a bad time over there since Stamkos has been there. So, what's your kind of feeling on the Predators these days?
Yeah, I think they've been pretty unlucky this year, on top of just not being good. So it's been they were like that last year, and so you start to wonder if it's ever gonna kind of correct at all. I think a little bit of that correction has come home to roost in the last couple of games here for them. So that's nice to see. And, maybe it does spark something where they're like, yeah, we can actually score goals. We can do this thing. And maybe it starts to be a better situation moving forward. That being said, I don't think that Stamkos, I don't think that O'Reilly are the level of player where you have to roster them through this week. having seen those two games that we just saw, I'd like to see where it
Yeah.
goes and see if they can get on a bit of a roll. But again, I don't think you have to. I don't think the ceiling there is so high that you have to.
Yep, for sure. Agree with that. I had Stamkos in a couple spots and I dropped them, and it felt okay, but yeah, I don't know. I feel bad. I should pick him back up. I feel bad for Stammer. Let's move over to Ottawa. We got Thomas Chabot, who is out with the injury, so he's day to day. So get him in your IR there. The players we're looking at here: Claude Giroux, who is a good streamer this week, Dylan Cousins, and the Pinto Bean, Shane Pinto, still scoring goals out there, doing the thing as we prognosticated. Shane Pinto, folks, is on a 39 goal pace. All right, what do you think of that, Nathan?
It's pretty good, I would say. Yeah, this is a group of players that I have some mixed feelings about. I
Yep.
really like Shane Pinto. I really like what he brings to the table. Like 2 games ago, he goes for 9 hits randomly in the game. He's been over 20 minutes in each of the last 4 games. A couple goals in the last two here, 4 shots in the game here against St. Louis today. So he's doing the thing. I like that. Dylan Cousins has started to shoot the puck again, which is nice to see, but he's not doing a whole lot else really. And so, yeah, I'm just a little bit still wondering if he's ever going to find his role with this team. They did put him on the line with Kachuk and
Yeah.
Zetterlund today, and I mean, that's a great look for Cousins, and so maybe you want to hang on as long as that look lasts at least. But I don't know that that's necessarily where he's likely to land. I think that's maybe just a little bit of trying to get Cousins going. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think Cousins is a guy I don't feel strongly about having to hang on to. Shabbat, I think, is a pretty good rosterable 3-4 defenseman on a fantasy roster. So I think once he's back, you definitely want to get him back in your lineup. Pinto, I want to hang on to him. It's just the power play. Like, it seems like he's never really going to get that run. He did get some today. I don't know if that's just a blip or not, because it would really be the first time he's gotten much of a look on the top power play. So yeah, it's a spot where I would like to believe in Shane Pinto. That would be my preferred stance on Shane Pinto, because I believe in that player the most of this group. But yeah, I'm just still going to be worried about the deployment. It feels like all year long.
Yeah, I dig it, man. You ever listen to that song by Cher? Do you believe in love after love? You ever hear that one?
No, could you sing me a little more of it?
I can feel something inside me say. Oh, sorry. I could go on all night, folks, and you don't want that, all right? Hashtag total buffoon. Okay. Um, let's move on. We got Tampa and Toronto as the other teams here, and I'll just mix all these players together here, Nate. We got Anthony Cirelli, who has been playing really welly lately. 6 points in
Nice.
5 games. Yeah, thank you. So that's nice. Yeah, he's getting some. I think they've got Cooch with Cirelli and Hagel right now. So that's a nice place to be with Braden Point out.
Yep.
And then we got Darren Radish, who I think we talked about him a little bit offline. This guy's a must roster player at this point. We don't know what's happening with Victor Hedman, right? So now you've got like that power play is actually starting to go. Tampa's power play has been not very good as of late, and they're starting to kind of turn the corner. And we got Radish as the quarterback there. So I think you got to roster Radish. I'm not sure where you're at with Cirelli. And then for Toronto, we're looking at Morgan Riley, who continues pretty nice season. Like, he's on a 63-point pace. OEL has 5 points in his last 5 games. He's on a 61-point pace. Are we dropping any of these guys, Nate?
I don't think you have to, and I'm more inclined to keep them than some of the others we've talked about so far. Sorelli, I mean, anybody getting exposure to Kucherov at even strengths is going to be rosterable, in my opinion. Kucherov looks like he's finally reached midseason form and is set to take home another Art Ross potentially if he can catch up to McKinnon, which would be a tall task, obviously. But yeah, I love what Kucherov's bringing to the table and want players around him. That includes Radish. Radish is a big game here today as well. And yeah, I'm starting to wonder, even when Hedman comes back, is Radish just going to stick on this power play? He's been in a seamless addition, if not even better than what Hedman was providing up there. So it wouldn't surprise me if Radish turns out to be a full season hold at this point. Wouldn't be the most shocking outcome. Riley and OEL, I think, probably do have a bit of an expiration date when the Leafs finally get healthy on defense and they start to spread out the minutes again. But at this point, where they really have to rely on these two, along with Jake McCabe and Simone Benoit, I think that they are guys that you want to probably hang on to.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. But that's it for the lowered expectations. We got to get into a little segment that we call Crossing the Streams. Yeah. Best teams to stream. We do that. But before we do that, I'd like to spin a little yarn here, folks. Okay. I'd like to talk about Nate's and my antics. All right. It's pretty nice that Nate and I, get to go away on all these vacations together. We work hard and we play hard, right, Nate?
That we do.
Good. And I've also told Nate I'm going to keep this a tight 6 minutes. So you can start your clocks right now. All right. Here we go. Nate and I recently, and you'll remember this, Nate, obviously, we did a beach getaway. We just wanted to get away, get some surf and sun, right? No fantasy hockey takes, no Discord notifications, no start questions, just sand, sun, and two brothers in fantasy trying to find inner peace. Okay. And we decided, while we're out there, when in Rome, right? Do what Romans do. We met our surf instructor. All right. We took surfing lessons. All right. And this man's name, Bill Williamson. Okay. He looked like someone who'd taken a children's drawing of a surfer and brought it to life, right? Really interesting character, warm smile. His energy alone was just very calming. But his eyes kind of said, I've been hit by at least 9 surfboards this week alone, right? Kind of vacant in there. I know nothing going on. But anyways, we go out, right? Anyone who's done surfing lessons, like, you know the drill, right? He guides us out into the waves, encouraging us. He was saying these kind of random lines like, let's ride the rhythm of the sea. You remember when he said that, Nate? It was like,
yeah, that was an odd one.
Okay, Bill, yeah, let's just take it down a notch. And then he said, the tide wants you to succeed. I was like, all right, now this guy's jacking me up. Okay, very wholesome stuff. Until Nate and I are kind of facing one way, the horizon, and Bill's behind us, and he let out a noise that can only be described as a choir boy dropping a bag of frozen pierogies on his foot. All right, like a yeah, I'm trying to give you the gist. Anyways, a jellyfish had zapped him. Do you remember this, Nate? It was huge, right on the foot, right on the soft top of the foot zone, not protected, by nature. And he just sort of crumpled into the water dramatically, like he'd been shot with a tranquilizer dart. Okay, so yeah, we're obviously Nate and I are pretty concerned. So yeah, Bill, what are you doing? We had to, I'm not a good swimmer. Nate's really, really good in the water. He had a full wetsuit and one of those bathing caps, right? He does that, right? So it's I don't know. You look the part. Anyways, we rush him to shore, right? We lay him gently down on the sand, and he looked up at us, trembling, right, very scared, and he says, "Guys, I think someone needs to pee on the sting." I was like, and Nate and I just looked at each other. We're like, it's go time, right? We nodded solemnly, not because we wanted to, right? We weren't really in the mood for crossing the stream at this point, but because sometimes brotherhood demands sacrifices, and ours demanded precision urination. Okay. So we stood over Bill like two surgeons preparing for an operation, right? 2 streams, I said, and Nate just said, double the coverage. Okay. So that's kind of what we're looking at, right? We crossed the streams with the emotional intensity of 2 men who believed in medical miracles that absolutely weren't real. But just as we tried to hit the target, a gust, like a warm tropical wind, sort of blasted through, like, Mother Nature just yelling, "Not today!" Right? Sorry, folks. Our combined brotherly healing stream vaporized, right? Just shot sideways, and it took it down the beach, right? The wind was blowing pretty hard, and it landed directly on this heavily bronzed man. He had no shirt on, wearing a tiny European-style Speedo, side pipe completely exposed, okay? And he just stared at us, right? This guy, his expression was somewhere between like rage and confusion. He didn't know what was going on. And yeah, he was just giving us the finger, and that was fine, right? I'm not I don't know. He was pretty upset, but we had bigger fish to fry, right? Bill groaned, right? Speedo Man was just walking away, right? Muttering something. Anyways, we get back to Bill. The wind's died down, but we're out of ammo, right? We got nothing. We're like a squished Capri Sun drink. You know what I'm saying? You ever drink Capri Sun, Nate? Like there's nothing in there, right? We're just depleted. So we loaded Bill back on the boards and just paddled out to sea, hoping, not really logically, but emotionally, that maybe the universe would help us out, right? We didn't know what to do. They were looking for people. Bill, he was fading, right? He was pale. He leans towards Nate and he goes, "If I don't make it, delete my search history." Okay. And Nate just blinked. He's like, "Bill, what's in there?" Right. And Bill's just like, "No time. Like, just promise me." And Nate says, politely, "Absolutely not, Bill." But he patted him on the shoulder reassuringly anyway, right? That's Nate. He's a straight shooter there. Anyways, we're out there. There's despair sitting in, and that's when the water started to shift underneath us. We started to see 4 shapes: smooth, swift, purposeful. Okay. Suddenly, a pod of dolphins rose in perfect unison like a choir of slick, adorable angels. They leapt above us. You remember this, Nate? Sunlight catching their bodies, water streaming off them like a Disney scene that someone slipped peyote into. Okay. And then the mist began, right? Warm, golden, sparkling, a soft shower descending from the heavens. And it drifted right down onto Bill's foot, onto the jellyfish sting, and onto his soul, right? The dolphins were crossing the streams on Bill's foot. Are you getting what I'm like? This is unbelievable stuff. Anyways, Bill gasped softly, right? Not dramatically, just a gentle, like someone who finally found the perfect mattress firmness, right? His color started to return. His breathing got better, right? A single tear rolled down his cheek, maybe, from gratitude, from the pain, maybe, or maybe because dolphin magic pee is a lot warmer than expected, right? Anyways, we're starting to feel better. Go back to the shore, and the bronze Speedo man marches back to, down the beach. He's still damp from earlier. He's angry. And as he got closer, we realized it was Ross Cameo Colton. Oh my God, he had frosted tips. He was completely bronzed at oil and urine, dolphin urine. I know it was our urine, sorry. Anyways, I'm losing the plot. I wanted to ask him about ghosting us on Cameo a few years back, but he wasn't in the mood for that. And he was talking about pressing charges, but just then the lead dolphin flicked his tail, sent one final rainbow arc directly onto Ross's chest. Okay, and he froze. He looked down at himself and he whispered, "Fair enough. Fair enough," he said. And he gave us a tired nod. He wasn't forgiving us. He wasn't approving, but he was just acknowledging that today was weird and he was too tired to fight it. Anyways, Bill was fine. He said, "Boys, that was the most beautiful act of ocean brotherhood I've ever seen. I'm not going to forget this." Right. And Nate looked at me softly and said, "Blake, today wasn't about crossing the streams." And I said, "Yeah, buddy, it was about crossing hearts." Right. And the Dolphins clicked in agreement. Bill smiled like a man reborn. Speedo Ross Colton definitely had heat stroke, but he walked back a little wiser too, back to his, wherever the hell he was coming from. I don't know. And as the sun set, we caught the gentlest wave of our lives. Three brothers gliding towards shore, held afloat by brotherhood, biology, and the stupidest miracle the ocean has ever seen. All right. We should go back to that beach, Nate. You remember that? I think there's something special going on there.
There's definitely something going on in the water at that particular beach.
I'm sorry about this, Nate. All right. I don't know. That was like 7 minutes. Damn it. I don't know. It was probably longer. Anyways, let's get into it. We got to talk about the teams to stream. All right. That's why you're here, folks. And we got some good ones. But remember what we talked about. Again, you don't have to pick up these week-long streams just because they have perfect schedules. But we got Anaheim and the San Jose Sharks. 4 games, all on the off nights. That's excellent. Let's dig in on Anaheim. I mean, most of these guys are probably rostered at this point. You got Mason McTavish, Chris Kreider, Chicken Necks. I mean, those guys should be rostered right now. They're playing very well. But guys like Beckett Seneca, Radko Gudas, and Olin Zellweger, they might not be rostered. Now, how would you sort of rank those, even those 5 players there, Nate?
Yeah, I like what Seneca's bringing to the table at the moment. Prior to tonight's game, he had 5 points in his last 5 games, almost 18 minutes a night. The individual stuff doesn't look super hot, but the on-ice stuff does look pretty solid. It seems like he's a pretty entrenched member of the top 6 there, so that's kind of what you're looking for in a streamer. Zellweger's numbers under the hood look pretty tremendous, quite honestly. So I'm pretty into that. He's been averaging close to, if not quite, 20 minutes a game for a good chunk of time now. So I like Zellweger a lot, especially if you need a defenseman.
We need more minutes. Damn it. Like he's still under 20 and he's only pacing for 29 points. But yeah, like you said, the metrics looking really good there for Zelly. For San Jose, we're looking at Dmitry Orlov, Tower Toffoli. I've had lots of questions about Tower Toffoli here this week, so I'm interested in your take there. William Eklund did get a goal here tonight on Friday. Nice to see. He's power play 1. We've got Philip Kurashev. You got Wenberg. Any interest in the San Jose Sharks? I guess you could throw John Klingberg in there as well, but I think he was moved off power play 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Klingberg hasn't been on top power play for the last couple of games. He was scratched for a couple of games, and then tonight it was still Orlov, even with Klingberg back. So I think you want to look Orlov if you need a defenseman there, at least for the time being. I'm not convinced that Orlov sticks as power play 1 defenseman, but it's worth a look while he is. Toffoli has bounced around off on and off basically the Celebrini line. He's useful, I think, while he's on the Celebrini line, and not so useful when he's off it. Eklund, I think, has standalone value and should be rostered in more leagues than he currently is. Getting power play one and driving a good amount of offense for his own line when he's away from the Celebrini and Will Smith duo. Wenberg, Kurashev, these guys are your deep league options. Wenberg is on that top power play and getting a ton of minutes and not doing too bad so far this year with it. He's never going to be a big time shot producer or anything like that, but has some points to show for it.
Absolutely, buddy. All right, so those are your perfect streaming teams. Next group down, we've got 5 teams with 4 games, 3 off nights: Dallas, New Jersey, Utah, Winnipeg, and Washington. And it's worth saying that Dallas and Washington, they play. What do they do? What does Dallas? They play Tuesday, Wednesday, and the other teams play Saturday, right? So let's start with Dallas. And we're still talking about Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn. That's crazy. Like, are you interested? I saw you picked up Jamie Benn in one of our leagues, and he's getting points. So, I mean, what do you think about him moving forward? Do you think this is something that's sustainable?
Probably not. Those are deeper leagues where I picked up Jamie Benn, and this is a weird schedule this week where really only Dallas and Ottawa and Washington, I think, was the other one that had a decent enough schedule to consider a week long stream like that. So I did go that route. He was playing on a Mikko Rantanen and Wyatt Johnson line today. So, I mean, I'll take a swing on a guy playing on that line. It's not probably a spot where he's going to get, 20 minutes a night anymore at his age, but definitely a guy that I'm not going to be too shy about taking a swing on if I need one in a deeper league. So I'm okay with that. Tyler Seguin, prior to tonight's game where he didn't score a point, he did have 7 points, all assists in his last 5 games. He's been getting a lot of top 6 minutes as well, playing on the Hintz Robertson line as of late. So good spot for Tyler Seguin as well.
Yeah, that top 6 is a nice place to be there. You also got Leon Bichelle if you're looking for a banger option there for Dallas. For New Jersey, we're looking at Dawson Mercer, Simone Nemec, Brendan Dillon for your beefer, and then Arseny Gritziuk. I call him Arsenio Hall. Did you ever watch the Arsenio Hall show, Nate? Is that before your time? Do you
Before
know
my
who
time.
Arsenio Hall is?
No.
He had a flat top afro. It was awesome. Oh, God. All right. Never mind. Carry on. Talk to me about the Devils. Mercer in particular, I feel like, Mercer and Nemec are the ones that I'm interested in hearing about. Mercer's obviously not a guy that the metrics are ever very good. And then Nemec is getting a little bit more run here, scored the overtime goal the other night. What are your thoughts on those players?
Yeah, Mercer's the guy that's, he's getting the power play and he's getting a lot of minutes, so there's that. He is a viable streamer for those reasons. I just can't really envision a case where he has like a full season that's really good. Shimon Nemec has been getting a good amount of minutes. Tonight he got 1906. It was a 5-0 win, so they didn't need his offense really too much tonight. But prior to that, he had played 9 straight games with over 20 minutes, and some of these are like 25, 26-minute nights. So I don't know why Sheldon Keefe has completely flipped his opinion of this player, but it's pretty clear to me at this point that he has. And Nemec is still only 31% rostered on Yahoo, so that's probably a number that should change. Dylan, as you mentioned, strictly there for bangers. Gritziuk, I really like. I think this is a real player that the Devils got here. He had a 2-goal game here tonight and looked really good doing it. Underlyings look really strong. 35th in shots per 60 over the last 5 games before tonight, and then had a big night tonight. So some good stuff there from Arseny Gritziuk. He's playing on that Mercer line at even strength, which has Andre Palat on it as well. So you're not excited about the line mates there. He's not on the top power play. So deployment wise, I don't know if he's there, but as a streamer, I think he could do worse.
Yep, absolutely. That's a player of interest for me for sure. I'd love to dig in a little bit more on him. Let's move over to Utah. We're looking at Barrett Hayton, who again did miss Friday with an illness. Sean Dursey is back. The Dursey Shore, he's back from injury. And you got like some banger options there. Ian Cole, Jack McBain, Lawson Krause, Brandon Tanev. Any interest at all in these streamer level players on Utah?
I guess for the bangers, you could convince me to take a swing on a deeper league on some of the banger guys, but honestly, it's pretty hard to get excited about Hayton at this point. He was getting top power play before
Yep.
this illness that he was out with, but even still, he went. I can't even count how many games this is without a point before he scored a goal in the last game prior. Like over 10 games without a point for Barrett Hayton. So it's pretty hard to recommend him, even if he is getting top power play. You can do it. I just can't, in good conscience, recommend somebody who's been held off the score sheet so many times already this year.
Yep, makes some sense there. Moving over to Washington, we got Connor McMichael and Ryan Leonard as kind of your main guys there. Also, if Protas has been dropped, I think Protas should be added. He's not like a big metrics guy, but I just really believe in that player. But talk to me a little bit about Connor McMichael. He had a big game here. He's had a really nice last 5 games, even before that. Like, is this a guy that maybe we should look at potentially rostering rest of season, or is he kind of just having a little hot streak?
I like McMichael. He's done this before. He had a really good start to the year last year, and it's possible that he does it again. The problem for me is he's not on top power play, and he's playing with Duhaime and Leonard at even strength. It would on a line that's basically very clearly the third line. So that's the biggest problem, is that he seems pretty limited in terms of deployment. And that being said, he did have a really nice game, and he's strung a few decent games here together here. So I do like that part of the equation. He's 46th in shots per 60 over the last 5 games before tonight, and then has a big game here. So yeah, I like Connor McMichael, the talent. I'm just a little bit worried about the deployment there. And the same goes for Ryan Leonard. So Leonard was getting top power play in this game, but is playing again on that third line. And that's going to be a spot where I'm going to be interested in Ryan Leonard. I think the potential here is a lot higher for Ryan Leonard than a lot of other streamer level players that you might be getting, even in some deeper leagues. You could still probably pick up Leonard for
Yep.
this week. So that's a look that I like.
Yeah, the two good young players. I really like that. I also like Hendrix Lapierre in Washington. I think, the kids are all right. And I think, when OV sort of passes the torch finally, they've got some bits and pieces there that can do something offensively. I could see these guys popping off in a few years. Last team here with 4 games, 3 off nights, Winnipeg. So we're looking at Mom Spaghetti, Cole Perfetti, and Nino Niederreiter. You got Jonathan Taves out there as well. Why? But Cole Perfetti, Nino Niederreiter, any of these tickle your fancy, Nate?
Cole Perfetti's underlying metrics have come up a little bit in the last 5 games here. So before today's game, 52nd shots per 60, 96 individual expected goals for per 60. He's still going to be getting that 15 to 16 minute treatment. Power play 1, but line 2 there in Winnipeg. But it wouldn't surprise me if he has a good week here. Niederreiter has gone into hibernation again and will probably not be seen till after Christmas.
Dang. Oh, he just catching strays. The man's got an all-time name. There's a lot of vowels in there. But you know what? We could use a few more, right? I don't know where I'm going with that. Let's move on to the next tier of teams here. We got 2 teams with 3 games and 3 off nights. Buffalo and Philadelphia. Buffalo plays Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so they're a great start to your week. And then Philly plays Monday, Wednesday, and then Sunday. So you might want to get a Philly player in for the Monday, Wednesday, and then move on to someone else if that works for your lineup. But let's look at Buffalo here. We got Matthias Samuelsson. He was in concussion protocol here this last game. I think he'll be fine, but just should throw that out there. That is a player I'd love to hear your take on, because he's been getting kind of blown up a little bit here, and I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing it with Matthias Samuelsson. He gets no power play time. He does not get put in offensive situations, and he's redlining in all his metrics. So I'm interested to hear that. We got Bo Byram. We got Josh Norris. He's coming back, folks. Oh, my God. I'm so excited. Again, I'm rostering him in 4 spots. I'm going to have to activate him. We got the Power Glove. We got Josh Doan, the Butler, Zach Benson, Big Pimpin', Jason Zucker. I got a lot of nicknames for these Buffalo Sabres. Talk to me about the Sabres, because, we do have some options here, don't we, Nate?
Yeah, there's definitely options. So for the defenseman, Samuelson, before tonight's game, where obviously nobody scored for Buffalo, Samuelson had 5 points in the last 5 games, almost 25 minutes a night. And his underlying stuff is not as bad as you might expect. 50th in individual expected goals for, 57th in on ice expected goals for. For a guy that's not seeing any power play time, that's actually pretty impressive. So, yeah, maybe we're getting the offensive version of Matthias Samuelson this far into his NHL career. I've seen not many crazier things, but I have seen crazier things, so something to keep an eye on for sure. Bowen Byram, probably your best bet overall to score some points. 21st in individual expected goals for in the last 5 games before tonight, so that's a good look. Owen Power seems to have followed Nino Niederreiter into hibernation, so I'm not interested in that too much. Josh Stone, I really like the player there. The underlying metrics are, I think, gonna kind of always look good. And then we got Zach Benson, as you mentioned. It seems like he's taking a little bit of time to kind of get on track, but he is on top power play, so that's worth looking at. Jason Zucker, on the other hand, before tonight's game, he had 6 points in 3 games since returning from his injury, so his underlines look pretty good too. 30th individual or on ice expected goals for, and second in on ice scoring chances for per 60. So Jason Zucker also a pretty solid option. So definitely some stuff to look at in Buffalo.
Yep, for sure. And then last team we want to talk about here, Philly, the Philadelphia Flyers. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. You got Matvei Mishkov is at 54%. So, I mean, that's worth a look, right? Isn't that so crazy? We were so jacked about this guy, and now he's getting under 15 minutes a night. It's a rough look. I mean, for such an offensive player, but obviously there's something going on the defensive side of the puck that's just not really clicking there for Mishkov and Mishkov and Rick Tocchet maybe not really seeing eye to eye on kind of how to play. So that said, I mean, this is a great schedule. I think you should probably be rostered for these 3 off nights, or at least the Monday, Wednesday. You got Owen, just to tip it, Travis Sanheim, Cam York, Tyson Forster, Noah Cates, Sean Couturier, and then Garnett Hathaway as your B for option. How are you ranking these Flyers here, Nate?
I think Forster's number one for me, and actually I might have to move him up the Dream Streams list. Forster's got 5 goals in his last 5 games, and I don't think anybody's talking about Tyson Forster right now. He's getting top line, top power play deployment at the moment. Uh, I don't know how you're not more excited about Tyson Forster than a lot of players around the league at the moment. If I was looking for solely a stream for next week and Michkov and Forster were both available, I would take Forster over Michkov for next week. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. Tippett is a guy you can stream and hope it's one of those random hot weeks he has throughout the year. I don't know. I couldn't possibly begin to handicap that one. It feels like
Right.
Tippett is just one of these guys who's going to be either scalding hot or absolutely ice cold on any given week. Sanheim and York are pretty interesting. Sanheim, I think, is the better player, but is being used a bit more defensively. And York is the one who's getting a little bit more of the offensive chances. So you kind of have to weigh the deployment versus the talent of the player a little bit here. I did that in a spot this week where I just had a spot for a defenseman overall, and York and Sanheim ended up being the guys I was deciding between. I went with Cam York for the week, and I'm still not convinced that was a good idea, but that's what I did personally. So you can follow me there, or you can go the opposite direction if you think I've cursed him, which is entirely possible. Noah Cates, Sean Couturier, and Bobby Brink are all options of those groups. Of that group, I think I would go with Sean Couturier. The underlying numbers are not terrific for any of these 3, but Couturier is going to be out there for a lot of big faceoffs, and he's probably going to run into some points in that manner.
Absolutely, buddy. All right. Before we move on to the next section here, I do want to mention that Columbus, Montreal, and St. Louis all play 4 games with 2 off nights. So there's going to be options there. But Nate is going to talk about a few of these players in the next segment, Dream Streams and Hold Me. So we'll get to biz there. Nate, why don't you talk to us about the Patreon?
All right, let's do it. The Patreon is a place where you can pay a little bit of money every month and get some perks. Apples and Ginos Patreon League APL eligibility for $2 a month. Right now, that is just being on the wait list in case we have some people who can't support their team anymore. The Apples tier, $8 a month, gets you APL eligibility, access to patron-only Discord channels and live shows, gets you access to our show notes, including the weekly ad targets we have in this document right now that I'm looking at. And we also get the Apples and Geos player evaluation tool, which includes stuff like this, where you can look at how good Zach Werenski is. Spoiler alert, it's pretty good. So
He's
that's
good.
something you can check out in the Apples and Geos player evaluation tool. And we're looking at ways to potentially make this thing even more valuable to you. So stay tuned for more on that as well. I think we can do it though, Blake. I think we can get into the dream streams.
Let's do it.
All right. Right off the top, I think I'm going to go with Chris Kreider as my number one on the week with the 4 off nights. So I am, again, assuming that you can only get them in for the off nights. If you can get the players in for some of the other nights, then maybe it would make sense to go in some different directions. But assuming that you're only getting them for the off nights, I'll go Chris Kreider number one and William Eklund number two. I'm actually kind of really liking what I'm seeing from Kreider under the hood here. They have this 5-4 win, and Kreider scores a goal, 18-28. It was a power play goal. You know he's going to be there. That's kind of basically what they've acquired him to do. And he's getting lots of looks alongside the big time playmakers there in Carlson and Terry. And I just think that that's a terrific marriage of a stylistic. I was going to say stylistic play styles, and then I didn't realize how redundant that was. It's pretty terrible. But either way, I really like Chris Kreider, and I think that you should definitely pull him on your team as well. 39th in on ice expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games prior to today. Then Eklund, as I mentioned. Then I'll go back to Anaheim for Beckett Seneca. I just think that Seneca's got something going, and
Yep.
it doesn't really seem like it matters who he's playing with. Like, he's going to be touching the puck, he's going to be getting those assists, even when he's not the guy at the end of the pass. So, yeah, I'm into that. Then we go to the Buffalo for Zach Benson and Josh Norris. I'm not sure which way I would order this. I think Zach Benson is more likely to get top line deployment with Tage Thompson and top power play. I think that they want Norris to be on that power play as well at some point. So I think I'll put Benson ahead for now, but you could probably persuade me that Norris should be
Wrong.
ahead.
Wrong.
All right. Tyler Seguin, Dawson Mercer, Tyson Forster has to be in here as well. Kind of getting into that next tier. I would probably just try to stay in the Flames with Forster in the good deployment that he's currently in, to be quite honest. Then the defenseman, Olen Zellweger and Shimon Nemec, Zelly and Nemo as their uh,
I,
probably
I
the.
ain't hating that. That sounds good to me.
And then I did want to throw in Ryan Leonard kind of as a, I guess, like an honorable mention here. If he continues to get top power play time, then I'll continue to get more and more interested in him. But I do think he needs to get in the top six to have continued relevance beyond just a streamer. Any suggestions to modify this list for me there, Blake?
How could I modify this list? Come on, Nathan. It's beautiful. Pick these men up.
All right. For hits, it's Radko Gudas, probably rostered in most of your Banger Scats leagues, but just in case, he is, once again, the hit monster. Liam Bichelle, as we mentioned, is also a big time hitter, 3.6 hits per game over the last 30 days. Ty Dellandrea does that over in San Jose. Jack McBain, Brendan Dillon, Lawson Krause, all good options as well. On the block side, number one and number two with a bullet, Matt Roy and Mario Ferraro. These guys definitely block. Matt Roy has 2.5 blocks per game in the last month, so that's pretty special stuff there. Radko Gudas shows up on this list here as well. Jonas Siegenthaler, Timothy Liljegren, Martin Freherhari,
The
and
Ferrari.
Asa Lindell as well from Dallas. All right, we're going to keep rolling and talk about hold me players. And these are the players who are worth holding. We got to talk about some graduates, though. We had 7 players who used to be on this list who went over 50% rostered for this week. Jesper Wallstedt, Akira Schmid, Oliver Ekman Larson, Philip Hronek, Jet Greaves, Joseph Wall, and Adam Van Tilly. Patrick Kane going to be number one on this list once again. Still mind
No
blowing that
one's
he's not
listening, Nate.
rostered. No one's listening to this podcast anymore. The numbers we see are all fake. No one's listening to us.
It's
But
all me,
Patrick,
basically. I should
yeah,
tell you that. Yeah, I just listen to it on repeat.
Patrick Kane definitely should be rostered in way more spots. William Eklund here for me as well. I think he's probably the better long-term hold because I think his long-term role is maybe a bit more secure than Chris Kreider's, who's next on the list. Anton Lindell, Matt Zuccarello, Matt Coronado, Jared McCann, Brock Besser, Dmitry Voronkov, Gabriel Landeskog getting power play 1 at this moment. Got 21 minutes, scored a goal, 6 shots in the game here today.
Awesome.
That's something I like to see, and I'm hoping, maybe I'm just hoping, but I'm hoping that this means that they're kind of taking the training wheels off of Landeskog a little bit, and they're actually going to start to feature him more higher up the lineup and on power play one, maybe for the rest of the year. He is the captain of the team. It wouldn't be too shocking if he becomes a mainstay once again, if he can handle it, and it seems like they think he can handle it at the moment. Connor Garland, Frank Nazar round out the list there. Anything you want to highlight from the long term plays at forward, Blake?
Um, yeah, again, Patrick Kane. I think this guy's got to be rostered. I'm interested to see what happens with Connor Garland because there's a lot of smoke, like trade rumors surrounding him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think his value is tied to the Canucks. If he goes to another team, I don't think we're going to see the same kind of player.
All right, sub 20% rostered. Landeskog and Garland show up there. Burakovsky is back as of today and straight back to that Bedard line, so that's exciting. Zach Benson, Jordan Eberle, Beckett Seneca, Josh Doan, Jackson Blake, and Braden Bowman. Bowman is not on the top power play anymore, but still getting some Eichel exposure at even strength, which is pretty good, so definitely interested in those players. Sub 10% rostered. We get into some of my real favorites here. Luke Evangelista, 1% rostered. This guy's been on a metrics tear
Yep.
and finally is getting some points to show for it in the last little bit. So I'm loving that for Luke Evangelista. And yeah, like we said, nobody's going to nobody's going to say for certain that Nashville is all the way back and they're going to keep scoring 5 goals a game from here on out. But if they have discovered something for real here, then I do believe that Luke Evangelista is going to be a big part of that. So I wanted to shout him out here. Tyson Forrester, as I mentioned before, Ryan Leonard, Jason Zucker is 8% rostered and pretty hot at the moment. Easton Cowan is really, to me, solidifying his spot in the top 6 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And whether he's playing with Tavares and Nylander or whether he's playing with Nyes and Matthews, I think both of those are spots where Easton Cowan could get the biz. Leafs have always also gone to this 5 forward power play, and Easton Cowan is on it. So that's another spot where Easton Cowan could really provide some value for your fantasy teams. Arseny Griciuk, as I mentioned, it's just so sad that Jack Hughes is out of the lineup because Griciuk got that promotion to line one, looked terrific there. He scores 2 goals today. I just want to know what it could be like. Line one, power play one, Arseny
Yeah,
Griciuk. I
maybe
think
we'll
if we could
see.
really, maybe we'll get something. Ryan Hartman, 3% rostered, and Matthew Wood there in Nashville as well. Has some good underlying stuff going on. Anybody from the sub 20% and 10% lists that you want to highlight, Blake?
Yeah, love it, man. Yeah, Luke Evangelista, I'm glad you shouted him out. I think we talked about it in the offseason. Nashville needs to lean into their young players, and they haven't been doing that. So it's great to see. I think this guy might be one of the keys to unlock some of these guys like Steven Stamkos, right? Nick Blankenberg's another nice piece there, but maybe you'll talk about him later.
All right, let's talk about the defense then. Darren Radish, number one at 24% rostered. This guy is somehow still flying under the radar in a lot of leagues, and he should be rostered in every single one at the moment. Hampus Lindholm as power play one there in Boston. Obviously, it doesn't look as good when
Yep.
Pasternak and Zaka are out of the lineup, but that's still a spot where theoretically there should be some points to be scored. Artyom Levshunov as well here. Dmitry Orlov for as long as he's holding power play one. I think it's possible that the Sharks are just kind of done with Klingberg, and that means that Orlov could get power play one for as long as the entire season potentially. I think at some point they might give Sam Dickinson some room there, but right now he's getting the low minutes treatment as they try to bring him along slowly. Olen Zellweger, Shimon Nemec, Matthias Ekholm, Cam York, Bowen Byram, Travis Sanheim, Chris Letang, and Brant Clark on the list here. I think for myself on this list, I think Brant Clark might have the highest potential long term, but again, it's Jim Hiller offense, and we don't know that he's ever going to get power play one. They really do seem to like that 5 forward power play, and they've even gone through some different personnel variations of that with Corey Perry and Kuzmenko and Byfield, all these guys kind of rotating in and out. So, yeah, I wish that we could be more bullish on Brant Clark there. Sub 20% rostered, Hampus Lindholm, Owen Zellweger, Cam York, as we mentioned. I want to shout out Nick Blankenberg here as well. He's been quietly very good over the last little bit. And so that's exciting stuff if you are into defenseman hell, as a lot of people are with some of the injuries going on around the league. So that might be a spot where you can grab Nick Blankenberg. His underlying stuff actually looks pretty terrific as well. So Nick Blankenberg might be worth a look in your league if you're hurting on defense. Anything to add from the defenseman that I mentioned so far, Blake?
No notes, my man.
All right. Then we'll talk about some goaltenders. Eric Comrie is still going to get a lot of run. I think that it's pretty clear that he's not Connor Hellebuck, but I do think it's still a decent place for a goaltender to be. Dan Vladar, honestly, I think you might be able to put him over Eric Comrie at this point. Like we're getting a pretty good sample size on Vladar being pretty good. I think it's a lot the Philadelphia environment and how good that environment has been for him, and just finding the right mix, I guess, for his
Yeah.
play style and everything. Maybe it's a good goalie coach. Whatever the case, it's been working so far. Probably it goes away at some point throughout the season and he has another bad stretch and you drop him. But at the moment, he's put together quite a good run here. Tristan Jarry, I heard some smoke that he could be the guy that could go to Edmonton as well. Elliot Friedman was talking about it as a potential option for Edmonton to be looking at, and he's not been bad. Pittsburgh has been better. I think Jari is rosterable right now just on Pittsburgh, but if he goes to Edmonton, then he could actually have some ceiling as well. And Jake Allen here at 35% rostered. You go sub 25% rostered. And with Dostal out for 2 to 3 weeks, I did throw Ville Husso and Petr Mrazek on here as a potential look. If one of them can claim the net for the next couple of weeks, then you might actually get something decent. John Gibson at 20%. Cam Talbot is actually over the line at 27%. Neither guy has been too great here of late. The Red Wings have coughed up a couple of games here in a row and not looked good doing so. So I don't know that these are going to be great options, but they're definitely options. And it wouldn't be shocking to see either of them get on a little bit of a run either. So, Blake, goaltenders, who do you like here?
I like Comrie. I like Comrie over Vladar. I mean, I get what you're saying. It makes some sense, but I feel like Comrie's going to get more starts. And yeah, he's going to have to kind of figure things out there. Like Vladar and Urson, I just think it's more of a share. It's not a total share. Vladar's the number one, but I think Comrie is like a 75-25 at this point. So I think you're going to get more bang for your buck if you go Comrie.
All right. Now we must get to the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. This is the spot where we check in on how it's going this week. Blake took Claude Giroux, who has 9.9 APL fantasy points. I took Braden Bowman, who has 11.1. They both have a game left to play, so this one is far from over. But good to see that my pick is in the lead at this point, at least. Let's keep it that way. All right, Blake, we got to make some picks for next week at this point. I am going to take Gabriel Landeskog with the first pick here. Think he can hang on to power play one even if Nichushkin returns here. And if he does, and who's to say at some point he's not rocking on that top line with McKinnon and Natchez. I could see a few ways in which this goes really, really well. So I'm going to go with Gabe Landeskog.
I like your enthusiasm, Nathan, and that feels good. Yeah, I mean, I think picking these picks here, it's nice to have a peripheral floor, and you get that with Landeskog, and you also get that with a little player named Zachary Bolduc of the Montreal Canadiens, who I'm taking. All right, I'm taking him to the bank. What do you think of that, Nate?
Yeah, I think Bolduc's in a pretty good spot at the moment. So as long as he can hang on to his deployment on the top power play, on the top line, that's a good spot to be. So I can definitely see that one paying off as well. Well, if people have made it through this entire episode, they should probably click the link in the description and join the Discord community. Over 2,000 fantasy hockey managers talking fantasy hockey all year long. If you could like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, all that stuff really does help us out. That is going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value. Helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today.
Did.
All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Much love.